After our Gen 1 Overkill Nuzlocke video got 100 million views within 3 days of upload and generated $1 million in ad revenue, we decided, well, that's enough reason to do a sequel to this concept. Thus, we rummaged through the likes that is the Johto region in search for the greatest strats available to beat the likes of Whitney, Claire, Lance, and of course, youngster Joey. The first major decision in a Nuzlocke run is which of the 3 starters you choose. If you've watched our video on the starters, you probably know where this is going, but here's the gist. Chikorita is mostly not worth your time. It can be useful sometimes, but lacks the damage and matches poorly against Johto. Cyndaquil is decent, it gets a few good matchups here and there, and gets great coverage with Thunder Punch. And last, but definitely not least, Totodile. Totodile is the best of the 3 absolute hands down, no questions asked. It beats the first 3 gyms with Rage, gets plenty of chances mid-game and late game, and can be used at the Elite Four and in Kanto. An absolute lad. If you are really try-hardy, just pick the Croc. It will be worth your while. Now, we may have talked about the starters, but what we did not talk about is which of the 3 Johto games we're running. Funnily enough, all of the Johto games have the same gyms, Elite Four, Rocket Fights, and Rival Fight, which thankfully did not carry over to the next generations. So the difference only lies in which Pokemon you get as the player. Our run was in Crystal, which has the massive perk of giving you evolution stones and some interesting encounters, such as early Phanpy and Teddiursa and the odd egg. But Gold and Silver have a few gyms of their own, such as Ampharos, which is a massively good and easy to use Pokemon. Another point specific to Johto is that some people will rule the Nuzlocke to end at the Elite Four, and some rule it to end at the Red Fight. Both rule sets are fine. We picked the one that goes all the way to Red because it has the most content value. One of the best strats no one told you about when Nuzlocking Johto is to start at nighttime. The reason that matters is that it skews the odds of getting the best early game Pokemon massively in your favor, and that Pokemon is Geodude. Geodude will help you a lot in the early game, especially if you did not pick the Croc. You can get Geodude from Route 46 and Mount Mortar. The interesting thing about going night is that the Route 46 only has Geodude and Rattata, the latter of which is common in many of the early routes, so the way to get yourself a Geodude is just to lay Route 46 until you find a rat, which is coincidentally not a bad Pokemon at all early on. Then you go and get a Geodude, and on the rare event you don't get a rat in any of the routes up until and including Sprout Tower, you still have a 50-50 of getting a rock. Apart from that, you get a lot of other decent perks, such as a flying type in Hoot Hoot, which can be useful for Falkner as we will see in a moment, a couple of shots at Zubat, and a chance at Poliwag. And apart from Spinarak, there are no actual garbage Pokemon that are specific to nighttime. No Ladybuzz, no Sentret, no Hoppip, no Phanpys that are near impossible to catch. In Crystal for the Teddy and Phanpy. No Teddiursas that'll just flee away. Pretty good. The first obstacle in your way will be Falkner. The way most runs deal with this guy is by overleveling, which is likely not gonna happen anyway since Game Freak decided to make him have level 7 and 9 Mons for some reason. However, if you play on hardcore rules, he can be pretty tough, as Pidgeotto is better than anything you get by that level, and he has Mud Slap for rock types. You could try to play around that by using whatever you have and switching around, though you need to proceed carefully. There is, in our knowledge, 3 foolproof ways to destroy this guy. The least likely to happen, but also the funniest, is to find the fabled hidden power electric ice unknown with good base power that sweeps a gym, no questions asked. Now, we do not advise you to actually catch an unknown in your Nuzlocke, as you can delay for a Surf or Fish encounter and just get a better Pokemon in Alph Ruins, but we mentioned that because we actually got it in one of our runs from a long time ago. The second way is, as we showed in our Totodile video, the J-Rose way. Equip a berry to Totodile, spam Rage, profit, very safe. Now, if you do not have Totodile, there is a third way: rock and flying, which is what we're going to show in our practice run. To do this, you need a rock and a decent flying type. Here's how it goes. For the Pidgey, you just bring out a level 9 Pokemon apart from the 2 Pokemon we mentioned earlier. Your starter, a Rattata. Most things will safely 1v1 Pidgey at a slightly higher level. Once the Pidgeotto shows up, you switch to your rock to tank Gust. Now, Pidgeotto's Mud Slap is pretty annoying for Geodude or Onix, as you can get hacked by accuracy drops. To prevent this, you'll switch to your flying type, and then switch back to your rock type, and so on. The thing is that Mud Slap only has 10 PP, so once you use your bird to dodge all 10, the rock is free to 1v1. Just be sure to use Growl or Sand Attack at the start of the process to help your rock tank Gust. Also, make sure to equip a berry to your rock to help it. This strategy will always work, save for Pidgeotto getting an absolutely insane number of crits. Also, before we move on, a side note about Route 36. This is, besides the place where you find a few Pokemon in Crystal, the place where you can get Sudowoodo. So you will have to choose between getting an encounter there and getting the fake tree later on. And if we were to make a suggestion, well, definitely ditch the Woodoo. Sudowoodo doesn't have any stats, particularly good matchups or unique uses. Graveler will always be a much better Pokemon overall, so you can safely get an additional Pokemon early on instead. With that out of the way, next up is Route 32. Make sure you level up a bit. 13 on your entire team should have you safe without risking to overlevel Bugsy later on. You can avoid every single trainer before Union Cave, but you should be able to win any fight you accidentally get yourself into. Here, Pokemon Gold or Silver players will get a shot at the amazing Mareep, which evolves into Ampharos, a Pokemon that will be consistently useful throughout the game. But what Pokemon Crystal players do not have in power, they can compensate for in strategy, for Pokemon Crystal gives you one very important item: one Repel. Now, an item that you can buy for 350 Pokédollars may not sound like a big deal, but as it turns out, it is. This Repel, if used at the entrance of Union Cave, allows the player to get all the way without encountering a single wild Pokemon, thereby delaying the Union Cave encounter for later. And why would you do that, you may ask? Well, because if you come back once you get served and proceed carefully, you can get the level 20 Lapras, an excellent mid to late game Pokemon. Now, of course, it's absolutely not mandatory to do this, as you may prefer having more Pokemon immediately, but it is a very good investment if you feel safe in the short term. Also, make sure to have a Pokemon to take on rock types and a team that is well prepped for Hiker Anthony, which, despite not being mandatory, has a high chance of messing you up, including a Water or Grassmon for Geodude, and more than one Machop answer if you have such Pokemon. Machop answers include but are not limited to Butterfree, Zubat, and of course, Ghastly, who Machop is literally unable to touch. Once you reach Azalea, there's a small route you can find one more encounter on. This route is also part of a strategy to get Heracross. If you have a Spearow, you can wait until Headbutt and get a Headbutt encounter on each of Azalea Town and the route. One of the two is guaranteed to be a Heracross. Now, Heracross itself is less good than you might expect because of the lack of moves, but still has great stats. We did not have a Spearow and just got Spearow and Ekans from these two encounters. Another important part about Azalea is that you can get an encounter in Ilex Forest immediately, but you have to do so before you face the Rocket Arc in Slowpoke Well, because once you do, your rival will stop you then and there. And you better be prepared for him, because his team is actually no joke. What we do is fight him after the gym, as there's no benefit from doing that before the gym. Now for the Slowpoke Well phase. All you need to do to be safe is be aware that the last trainer has Coughing, which has high defense, and carry antidotes in case you get poisoned not to die to overworld poison damage. Apart from that, you will mostly be fine. The Bugsy gym leaders will also be massive hurdles for the most part, except for maybe the Beedrill guy, which you can dodge or just counter with the rock type or ghost type. but those are of course nothing but appetizers for the main course, Bugsy. Bugsy's team is composed of 3 Pokemon, but 2 of them are absolute pushovers. Apart from being poisoned by Poison Sting, you should be able to beat both of them without any major resource investment. The problem, however, is Scyther. Scyther has high attack quick attacks and can spam Fury Cutter to make it a high base power stab move. Here are some of the Pokemon you might want to use to thwart that. Totodile can spam Rage and sweep outright. Flaffy can paralyze Scyther and hit it for SE damage, is decently bulky but cannot stay for a long time against Scyther without risking crits. Geodude, easily the best counter to Bugsy as it one-hit KO Scyther with Rock Throw. Quilava, fire's nice. Growlithe, fire but less nice. Ghastly, the best and safest way to own the Cocoons, and can try to put Scyther to sleep several times thanks to its great typing. However, if you miss all your Hypnosis tries, you are open to massive Fury attack sweep potential. Flying types kind of do not work against Bugsy, because none of them is evolved or has a good move in terms of power. Also, you do not use a traded Onix from Violet against Bugsy. A traded level 16 Pokemon will not obey you and may cause massive trouble to your strategy. Overall, the traded Onix is, unless you allow Steelix, only good for exactly Falkner and nothing more. If you have another way to beat Falkner, you should not trade your Bellsprout as it's more valuable, though still not the best thing ever. Though you can use a non-traded Onix such as one you encountered on Union Cave. Once you're done with the second gym, make sure you prep for Rival 2 before proceeding. His Zubat and Ghastly are not very strong, but can be deceptively annoying if they hacks you. And the starter evolution is a Pokemon you have to be prepped for, especially if it happened to be Bayleaf. Those Razor Leaves absolutely hurts. To prep for the rival, a good start is, once again, Geodude, who can beat Ghastly and Zubat most of the time and is a Quilava counter thanks to Magnitude. Now, you probably don't want to count on him sweeping, but that is not out of the realm of possibility. Croconaw can be easily countered with Flaffy, Bellsprout, and the like, and Meganium can get beaten by Zubat. Being done with the rival, you should have no problem all the way until Goldenrod, and at that time, here is what we recommend you do. Go to the underground, grab the coin case, and rush to the game corner. There, you can get one of the best Pokemon in the run, Abra, which though it can also be found in the wild, can as easily teleport on you and waste one of your precious encounters. Kadabra is a phenomenal encounter, as we'll see. Not only is a psychic type with great special attack, speed, and access to recovery, but it has access to the most powerful set of TMs in this game, the Elemental Punches. In Gen 2, the punches are all special moves, which gives Kadabra and some other Pokemon who learn all or some of them like Hypno, Ampharos, Typhlosion, Feraligatr, and so on, added potential. But more important than that, they can be bought at the department store for a cheap price, which means you have an effectively infinite supply of them, which matters an absolute ton in this game that has a courageous lack of other good TMs before Kanto, making a lot of Pokemon suffer from it. Now, getting Abra here has the detriment of being your Goldenrod encounter, therefore preventing you from getting Eevee, and not trading it from a Machop is definitely not great for Whitney, but those downsides are definitely worth what Kadabra will achieve later on. Speaking of Whitney, the third gym leader is the next fight you're expected to be ready for. The Clefairy is not super hard, as you already get a lot of Pokemon that are just better than it, and as for the Miltank, well, rolling. Now, the question is, how do you beat a Mon that has ginormous stats for this point in the game before it sends you to oblivion? Well, here's a few Pokemon you can use. Machop. Though we recommend against it because you would need to trade your Abra for it, Machop is the #1 best Pokemon for this fight. It's locked to be female, so it's immune to attract. It hits the cow super effectively and has a golden berry to help mitigate the damage it takes. Croconaw. As we saw in the Totodile video, Croconaw can spam Rage and exploit Clefairy's tendency to double slap, which will raise Rage's power many levels at a time, giving you insane damage potential against Miltank and sweeping the fight most likely. Geodude. The rock resists rollout and stomp and can retaliate with magnitude, which makes it kind of a risky option thanks to magnitude rolls. However, we did this fight many times over the years with a level 20 rock and 1v1 more often than not. Raticate. Rat can spam headbutt and try to YOLO its way through the gym. It also has a very decent win percentage. The good thing about Rat is that you need it less later on than some of the other mons in your roster, which brings us to a more general point. In a Nuzlocke, if you're failing to find a 100% safe way, try to consider which Pokemon you feel more comfortable sacking. If we lost a Raticate, a Fearow, and a Snubbull in this fight, we would consider it a great outcome. But if we lost a lone Kadabra, that would be a huge dent for the run. Apart from these Pokemon, here's what you must consider when picking your team for Whitney. Female Pokemon have a bit of merit over male ones because of attract immunity. Try not to bring Pokemon that are weak to rollout as they're more likely to play into a sweep from the cow. You can also try to bring Pokemon that are good into rollout such as Quagsire. Finally, just bring Pokemon that are as strong as possible or have great status moves and make sure you're ready to lose one or two of them if things go sideways. You can also get the odd egg and pray for the Tyrogue, I guess. Once you beat the scariest fight in the game, you'll be free to go all the way to Ecruteak, a point from which the game will open up and a lot more airs will be free for you to roam. And around this point, you'll notice something that, although was a thing since you started this run, is a lot more pronounced now. Johto is kinda weird. Now, the game will give you a lot of encounters, but a sizable chunk of them will be absolute garbo. At least a few of the things you get will be stuff like no ability Azumarill, Hoppip Blind, Girafarig, no Intimidate Stantler, Venonat, and of course, Sunkern. Even worse, some of the actually good Pokemon you can get are made worse due to the lack of TMs. Examples of Pokemon more or less affected by this include Magneton, Starmie, and the Evolutions, and most tragically, Haunter. Haunter, who would otherwise be incredible, is relegated to having a few niches here and there, which is a shame given how great Gen 1 Haunter was. And speaking of Haunter, the next trainer you must face is Morty. Now, in Crystal, the Rival 3 fight is mandatory before Morty. However, even though the fight has a decently stronger team than the previous one, this will be much easier thanks to the availability of more resources to you as well. Bayleaf Razor Leaves are definitely less scary, and Geodude has a good matchup against all non-starter mons. Long story short, you're always fine if you bring a decent answer to each thing. Now, Morty sets a dangerous precedent as the first gym not swept by Crocodile Rage, which actually requires the player to use their brain for once. His team is comprised of 4 ghosts, though the only real threat is Gengar. The other ones can be beaten by ground psychic moves and switching out of course if possible. Something like a Dabber can sweep through the 3 of them. Now moving on to the Gengar in the room. Now, Gengar has Stab Shadow Ball, which is definitely a threat to a Kadabra that does not outspeed and one-shot it. But other than that, it's not a very powerful move in its own right, as Gengar has barely more attack than friggin' Spearow. The actual problem is the Gengar has fast Hypnosis and Dream Eater, which is a strong special move that drains your HP. If Gengar gets lucky enough with Hypnosis, it can put your whole team to sleep and beat it, which, recovering any damage it took in the process, it's hard to reliably outspeed and will have you playing Russian roulette trying not to be killed. Fortunately though, there are a few things you can do in return. Mint Berry will help you offset one successful Hypnosis on your Pokemon and get a hit off, which can be massive. Physical attacks can destroy it, especially ground type moves, and normal types have the perk of being immune to Shadow Ball. Also, if one of your things gets put to sleep while Gengar is damaged, switch out if you can. Gengar will try to Dream Eater to recover health, thus giving out a free turn if you swap. If you're afraid a Shadow Ball might be used instead, switch to a normal type. Now, if there was one Pokemon to sweep this gym, it definitely would be Mint Berry Dig Raticate, as it combines all the anti-Gengar attributes with decent attack and speed not to be hit by Curse from the weaker Ghost. Some other Pokemon you want here are the aforementioned Kadabra to kill all the non-Gengar ghosts easily. Graveler hits like a truck with magnitude, Crobat can outspeed and bite the ghost, and Umbreon can meme with Mud Slap while being immune to psychic type moves. And finally, if you're planning to bring water types to this gym, fight the Kimono Girls and get Surf beforehand. Once you're done with the Ghost Gym and get Surf from the Kimono Girls, you're free to explore most of Johto. The first thing we did in our run is beeline to Lake of Rage, where we surfed our way to a greatly important encounter, a level 15 Magikarp. Now, as much as our choice of catching this Magikarp in the Lake of Rage was for the memes, Red Gyarados is definitely not optimal to catch and may cost you a lot. Shinies are nice and all, but do you really want to risk catching a Pokemon with high stats that has Thrash and Dragon Rage while you can just catch its less Chad pre-Evo form? I don't know for you, but we know what route we chose here. Before going to Sionwood, you should get the good rod and try fishing in Olivine for a Chinchou. Lantern is a Pokemon with amazing typing, decent stats, and a good amount of favorable matchups. Now just make sure you caught a Tentacool beforehand not to get a Tentacle there, as Tentacle, despite being very good, is very abundant in the water routes leading to Sionwood. Now, if you Nuzlocke this game, you might think that Gyarados, Lantern, Tentacruel form a quite redundant set of Pokemon, as they're all water type, especially if you chose Totodile in the beginning. Well, you may recall how we mentioned that Johto gives you a lot of Garbo Pokemon, despite also sometimes giving you good stuff to win the game with. As it turns out, a lot of the actually good stuff you get in this game are water types. That includes the aforementioned Pokemon, but also Lapras, Poliwrath, and Starmie, Dugong, Quagsire, and if we're willing to be generous, even stuff like Golduck and Mantine. Those water types have, for some reason, a ludicrous amount of decent matchups, and most of the game does not punish you for using more than one of them at a time. We creatively decided to coin this class of Pokemon Good Water Types. Good Water Types, Spam Surf. After catching all your encounters, make sure to grab HM Strength from the cafe and head to Sionwood. Here, you'll have to get ready for the 5th gym leader, Chuck. Before Chuck though, bear in mind that you must fight those two trainers back to back. They have a Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan. They're not hard, but make sure you're not thrown off by thinking you only fight one at a time. Now, for Chuck, he, for some reason, has only 2 Pokemon. Moreover, his Primeape does not pose that much of a threat. You can completely clown him with a Ghost or just use something like Crobat, Kadabra, or Hypno to own him. The real deal, however, is Poliwrath. Poliwrath is an actually decent Pokemon that has Surf and Dynamic Punch in addition to Hypnosis. This moveset makes it quite reliant on hacks, but gifted with a non-zero chance to take your soul. You can use fast, super effective moves from the likes of Kadabra or Crobat to beat it up. Though, be careful with Kadabra since you might get Surf crit. Speaking of Surf, water resists are very good. Some of the prime choices include Tentacruel, Gyarados, Mantine, and Victory Bell or Vileplume for their fighting resist, and Lantern for electric stab. Other great picks include Ampharos and Hypno. Hypno is usually considered a discount Kadabra thanks to having the same good trait, outside of Recover, with less stats. But it's still an amazing Pokemon in this game, and functions even better than Kadabra in this fight, thanks to its higher special bulk. And once again, Mint Berries are absolutely great for countering Hypnosis. Upon getting Gym 5, you get access to Fly, which makes traveling much more convenient. If you do not have Lantern, you can try going east of New Bark to get it by fishing on the route. You can also try fishing in Cherry Grove, and above all, you can go get your Lapras if you use the Repel strat. Now, you have to make sure you have a strong and diverse team in case you get into a fight, and plenty of Repels not to trigger an encounter before the Lapras. Also, make sure you have an escape rope to go away when you're done. Your best ally is Caution, as you can dodge all the trainers if you're careful. Now, the next gym in level cap order is Price. But before that, you must play the Team Rocket Arc and Mahogany. Now, if you're playing level caps, you might be confused how you're supposed to do 2 gyms with the level and cap difference. The way you do it is either play the Rocket Arc before Chuck, or use different Pokemon for this than for Chuck. Some of the Pokemon we used were Graveler, Raticate, Fearow, and Persian. Just be sure to have stuff for poison types. Glooms, yes, Gloom is a poison type, but he's not a typical Team Rocket one. Raticates, and of course, the booming Electrodes. Also, make sure to have healing items with you, as the boom Electrode phase won't allow you to get away to heal your squad. That being done, you can fight Price. The Ice Gym leader has Seal, Dugong, and an Ace Piloswine. Pylo's type synergizes well with the Water duo, as it blocks electric moves for them and block water for it. However, Piloswine does not have a ground move, which is enough to not make us salty for any Garbo encounters we got so far. One of the best Pokemon in this fight is Lantern. Lantern has a stab super effective move on everything and resists any stab moves these guys have. The perfect recipe. The other good water types like Lapras, Feraligatr, Poliwrath, and Tentacruel are also great because of Ice Resist and Stab Surf. Kadabra has an Elemental Punch for each Pokemon. Though crit normal moves can hurt it, Hypno provides a trade-off with less damage and more bulk compared to Kadabra. Ampharos destroys the 2 water types, and so does Magneton, except for Ampharos being able to hit Pylo as well with Fire Punch. Any fighting type is also decent here. Also, here is an instructive moment. In this turn, we've killed this Dugong, but this play was very bad from us because we left Kadabra liable to being crit. The reason we did that is because we misevaluated the damage of a crit headbutt and chose to stay in. We could easily have lost Kadabra despite having a lot of Pokemon we could have used to safely switch and beat this Dugong without taking stupid risk. Next up is the 7th gym, courtesy of Jasmine, the Steel-type trainer. With her 3 Pokemon, 2 of which are unevolved, now the Magnemites are not to be underestimated. You should respect them and bring a Ground-type Pokemon, at which point they're to be made fun of. Graveler is once again the obvious choice, though technically Quagsire is the best because it also deals with Steelix. Now, for some reason beyond human understanding, Jasmine also does not have a ground move on her Ace ground type, and has Sunny Day and Rock Throw. Now, water types are once again really nice here, for as long as you have a good answer to Magnemite as well. Now, even something like Sea King can do, so not even a good water type is required, for as long as the water type has Surf, you're good to go. Other decent Pokemon, though I don't know why you would need anything else, are Fire types and Fire Punch users like Kadabra. Now, as stupid as some of these gyms might be, it's time for the most stupid part of Johto, the Rocket Arc thing. What you do here is spam through a bunch of poison types, go underground, fight rival, fight some burglars, find radio tower key, fight a few adamants, and go on your merry way. Now, nothing about this is hard. Just make sure you lead a psychic type against the grunts to prevent booms with fast psychic moves. The rival has more of the same Pokemon with a Sneasel that is absolutely not a threat and a fully evolved starter. Just bring counters to each of his Pokemon. The final admin has a Houndoom, which, like everything else in the game, can be answered with a good water type. Also, make sure to get the radio function on your Pokegear if you don't have it yet. 99% of people forget that and have to backtrack once they need the Pokeflute, and the remaining 1% are lying to you. After beating the bad guys, it's time to go to Claire, the Dragon-type leader. For once, Claire has an actually pretty scary team, with 3 Dragonairs and a Kingdra. Kingdra is definitely the most scary Pokemon, as it has no weaknesses other than dragons, which you can't really exploit, and is strong enough to be a threat. Beating Kingdra will most realistically not rely on using one Pokemon, except if you're willing to YOLO for a 1v1. However, if several good Pokemon team up, you can bring down the mighty beast thanks to the power of friendship. The actual answer you need to ask to win this fight safely is, How do you beat the Dragonairs without using many Pokémon? Preferably only one Pokémon. Dragonairs, unlike Kingdra, are weak to ice, so all you gotta do is have a strong enough and fast enough threat to sweep all three of them, leaving only Kingdra. The speed benchmark for the Dragonairs is 56. If you have a faster, strong enough ice move, you beat them. Some good ice move users are Lapras, Dugong, and Kadabra with Ice Punch. Be sure to equip Never Melt Ice to improve your chances. You can also use more than one Pokemon with worse ice moves, such as Poliwrath, Feraligatr with Ice Punch, or other water types with either Icy Wind or the less accurate Blizzard. Though, bear in mind, the coverage moves those dragons have, you do not want Gyarados to be one-shot by Thunderbolt. Once you defeat the Dragonairs, use your other Pokemon to beat Kingdra. The best answer here is, once again, good water types, and more generally, water resists. Trying to get an edge with status moves like Poison and Paralysis inducing moves or accuracy dropping moves. Chip the Kingdra down and bear in mind that Claire has a healing item to stave off status and damage. It's also not a bad idea to bring Pokemon that are generally strong, and one of them being a possible sack in case things go south. Our practice run has the most well-executed Claire fight of all time. Here's how it went. We spammed Ice Beam with our 60 speed Lapras and thus killed the Dragonairs. After that, Kingdra came out. We used Perish Song. Perish Song will kill all active Pokemon after 3 turns of being used. However, you can save your Pokemon by switching out. The thing though is that Kingdra was Claire's last Pokemon. She was therefore doomed to lose in 3 turns. All we had to do was switch around for 3 turns and voila! With all 3 gems under your belt, you can go to Kanto. Go up the waterfall and get to the Indigo Plateau. In your way, make sure to abuse Surf to dodge trainers before Victory Road when you can, and be sure to prep for the last rival fight. His team isn't scary, and you can overlevel it a fair bit. Lastly, don't forget to get your TM for Earthquake from Victory Road, a TM which we totally didn't forget about in the practice run. For the Elite Four, it is, as in Kanto, a game of finding which Pokemon can decimate the highest number of stuff by themselves and go from there. Now, Will is kinda scary with this strong and diverse psychic Pokemon. Koga has mostly Garbo Pokemon outside of Fortress and Crowbar and relies on Toxic and Evasion to win. Bruno has some decent Pokemon in Machop and Hitmonlee, and some Garbomons with his other stuff. Karen is definitely the scariest one, with a lot of type variety and a massive threat in Houndoom. Her Gengar does not have good moves to damage you, but may just elite one of your things with Destiny Bond. And finally, Lance is Claire, basically 2.0. Now, as we did with the Kanto run, we're not revealing our Elite Four team, but we shall give some Pokemon that are good for this. Kadabra. Kadabra is the #1 best Pokemon for this Elite Four hands down. If you enter this gauntlet with a good supply of Elemental Punch TMs, you can adjust your moveset to each fight. And with this and a magnet, you can, assuming the level cap is 47 at the gauntlet start, beat the first 3 members with only Kadabra. Fire Punch and Thunder Punch gives you moves for everything Will has. Psychic and Fire Punch is enough for Koga, and Psychic alone is more than you need for Bruno. Now, Psychic types are bad on Claire, not because you do not have a target. You can easily beat Gengar, Vileplume, and even Murkrow with Thunder Punch, but Houndoom can come in and Pursuit Trap you as you try to escape. It's not worth it to risk your Pokemon there, and if you do not risk it, you get rewarded as you have T-Punch and Ice Punch for the Gyarados and the Dragonites on Lance respectively. Kadabra just beats so much of this gauntlet, it's not even funny. Hypno. Hypno being Discount Kadabra, it sweeps some of each of those fights, but lacks the speed and offense to do what Kadabra does. Still good. Poliwrath. Poliwrath is one of the less good water types, but it has the unique trait of being the best Houndoom counter in the game, with the second being maybe Tentacruel. Other good water types. Once again, good water types solve everything in this game. You can bring 3 of them no problem, especially if they have ice moves for Lance. Lantern also has Spark for Gyarados, which is valuable. Jinx. Can sweep Koga and Bruno and beat Lance's Dragonites. There are obviously more good Pokemon for the league, some of which were on our run. It's your mission as a trainer to find which combination of the things you have gives you the best odds. Now, a lot of Nuzlockers of this game consider the Nuzlocke done at this point, which kind of makes sense since the Elite Four has the added difficulty of featuring 5 challenging battles in a row. However, a lot of other people choose to go all the way to Red. Now, the Kanto part of this game is less interesting, so we'll cover it in less depth. Level capping in Kanto is very sloppy, with levels rigging and falling all over the place. We respected the level caps of every gym outside of Brock and Janine. Here is the gist of each gym. Surge. Graveler or Rhydon is your best friend. Bringing more than one ground type also helps. Erica. Hunter and Crobat will shine here. Other birds are Fearow and Dodrio are great too. Also, we lost our Hunter here because we were stupid. Don't be like us. Janine. This is not an actual gym unless there is a typo in the level of each Pokemon. Sabrina. Look at these movesets. Whatever she's gonna do to a dark type, we brought a Murkrow and we even had it forget Faint Attack out of brain deadness. We still swept. Misty. Grass and electric moves are great. Save your grass type for Quagsire. Water types are also good as long as they have a non-water move to hit her Pokemon with. Brock. We swept that loser with a level 50 Weepinbell that we did not even bother evolving even though we could in Crystal. Blaine. Good water types. Blue. The one actual good gym leader in Kanto. Be sure to bring a good answer to each thing. Lantern is the best Gyarados answer. You can use your own Gyarados or other good water type to trade. Rhydon is drowned by any surf. Zam is beaten by any dark type or Snorlax. Arcanine also is answered by water types. Tentacruel and Gyarados are the best ones for it. And Egg's damaging moves are Solar Beam and Egg Bomb. Use a bird or a fire type to kill it. Once you beat all those losers, you can go to the finale, the Red Fight. Now, if you're willing to level up your squad for Red, which you should, it's not super duper hard. Pikachu is Omega walled by any ground type. Espeon folds to any dark type, psychic type with Shadow Ball. The Kanto starters can be type charted to oblivion, except for maybe Blastoise who has good coverage. If Blastoise annoys you, use a water type with a good non-water type move. Lantern or T-Bolt Starmie are the best examples, but you can also go Gyarados or Feraligatr. And finally, Snorlax is the #1 best Pokemon in this game, but it has one damaging move and Body Slam, which opens a lot of room for clowning. Clowning technique number 1, a Ghost type. Ghost will force that idiot out and have him fight the air for ages once you PP stall it. A struggling Lax will be easy to beat it by any physical attackers. Clowning technique number 2, Graveler can take body slams and damage Lax to then boom onto it. Clowning technique number 3, counter Wobbuffet. This one is self-explanatory. Now, we're unsure if we wanted to include our own final team here, but after doing the fight, we decided it was a good idea to do so. Why? Because it's a good example of the fact that Nuzlocke fights sometimes do go sideways. Our team was the following: Graveler for Pikachu and to boom on Lax, Shadow Ball Hypno for Espeon, Tentacruel for Charizard, Crobat for Venusaur, Lantern for Blastoise, and finally Weezing because we wanted another Boomon for the memes and maybe in case Lax somehow hacks us with Body Slam paralysis. We led with Graveler and sent Pikachu 6 feet under with Earthquake. So far, so simple. Espeon comes next. We switched to Hypno, and then...
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
We had forgotten to teach it Shadow Ball. Massive mistake, especially considering we could just have had Murkrow here instead. We first tried to get special drops with Psychics, then just went for damage with Headbutt in before sacking the Hypno. At this HP, we realized Espeon's weak defense was an opening for Crobat. We used Fly, and we killed. We thought this risk was enough to put us back on track. Lax comes next. We switch to Graveler. We fire off a few EQs, then boom, the biggest threat is removed. Venusaur is next. We switch to Bat again. We kill with Fly. Easy. Then Blastoise comes next, which is why we have Lantern and then... Oh god. Oh no. That is bad. We don't have another Blastoise answer. We stay in and try to thaw for as many times as we can, but we don't. We lost Lantern for free here. We bring Tentacruel to try and get acid defense drops. We brawl with it, but get trapped by Whirlpool in the process. If we lose Tentacruel, this might be over, as Charizard can possibly sweep us. But we get released before. Now we absolutely need to get Tenta out. If Crobat and Weezing beat the Turtle, we're in the clear. We bring Weezing, which tanks the Surf. Thank God, no crits. And we click Boom next turn, and yes, we're faster. Now, that dumb Turtle is down. We bring Tentacruel into Zard and Surf. The main takeaway from the battle is that sometimes you will misplan or forget something important before going into a fight. It will happen. This does not mean that you lost on the spot. Let's analyze what we did wrong and what we did right. Sending Graveler and destroying Pikachu was obviously a perfect start. Now, Hypno with Shadow Ball would have beaten Espeon. Once we realized we messed up our moveset, we decided to sack Hypno. This was a great decision to get damage on Espeon and beat it with something else. However, we should not have used Psychic. Headbutt spam was better for more damage. After Hypno died, we could arguably have brought Lantern instead of Crobat not to risk Fly Miss, but we could have lost too much HP on our Blastoise answer. So we decided to take the 90% odds to go back on track, and we were lucky enough. On Snorlax, we used Graveler. Maybe we should have boomed earlier, but overall, we did not mess this once up. We continued back on track, killing the Bulbasaur, and then brought a Lantern on Blastoise. We got frozen. Now, you may argue that there was nothing we could have done against the BS RNG freeze, but that's not true. We could have equipped a Burnt Barrier, switched around, and away Lantern would have switched into a Surf or Whirlpool instead of a Blizzard. Once we got frozen though, trying to defrost was a good decision, as Lantern's most important mission was to beat Blastoise. Basically, one Spark hit would have secured the game there. With our Lantern down, we brought Tentacruel. That move was an actual mistake. We should have brought Weezing and clicked Boom for damage. Weezing did not have anything mandatory to do and could be sacrificed for getting back in the game. Tentacruel was a water resist, but we forget about Whirlpool's ability to trap us. Thankfully, we weren't punished and managed to switch out. We could arguably have switched to Crobat first, sacked it, then boomed to play around Blastoise's Surf being a crit on Weezing, but we were not sure whether Tentacruel would beat Charizard at this low HP, so we wanted Crobat alive. Thankfully, Blastoise did not crit Weezing and we managed to win. These bad plays were a result of us playing fast and reckless and taking the W for granted, which should serve as a cautionary tale for all Nuzlockers who think they have it in the bag. And bear in mind that this guide, though providing you with way more than you need to beat a Nuzlocke or even a hardcore Nuzlocke of this game, does not contain every strategy that can be used. Feel free to unleash your creative spirit and be the best you ever could be. Thanks for watching this video to the end. We hope you liked it. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And feel free to tell us about any strats we missed in the comments. Watch these videos because you know you love us. And as always, have a nice one.